Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the TSS Horizon, watching the stars shift as they dropped out of faster-than-light travel. The Kepler 442 system spread before them like a jeweled crown against the black of space. 4 planets orbited the orange dwarf star, and according to their sensors, the 4th planet showed signs of something humanity had never found before. Life. Intelligent life. Long-range scans confirm it. "Captain," said Dr. Lisa Parker from her science station. Her fingers danced across the holographic displays, pulling up data streams that made her eyes widen with excitement. "That structure orbiting the 4th planet is definitely artificial. The metal composition doesn't match anything in our databases, and the energy readings are off the charts." Jake felt his heart skip a beat. After 3 years of deep space exploration, finding empty worlds and lifeless rocks, they had finally done it. First contact with an alien civilization was no longer a dream, but a reality unfolding right in front of them. "Alex, any communication signals?" Jake asked, turning to the communications specialist at the next station. Alex Chen looked up from his equipment, adjusting the translation software he had spent months perfecting for this exact moment. "Nothing on standard frequencies, but I'm picking up some kind of organized transmission on a bandwidth we've never seen before. It's complex, almost like music mixed with mathematics." Commander Ryan Blake, the ship's security chief, stepped closer to the captain's chair. His hand instinctively rested near his sidearm, a habit from years of military service. "Captain, we should proceed with extreme caution. We have no idea what we're dealing with here." Jake nodded but felt his excitement growing stronger than his caution. This was why he had joined the exploration fleet. This was the moment that would change everything for humanity. "Set course for the structure, but keep us at a safe distance. Lisa, I want every scanner we have focused on that thing. Alex, see if you can make sense of those transmissions." The Horizon moved slowly through the system, its engines humming quietly as they approached the alien construction. As they got closer, the structure became more visible on their screens. It was beautiful in a way that took their breath away. Crystalline towers spiraled upward from a central hub, catching and reflecting the light from the star in patterns that seemed almost alive. The entire station appeared to be made from some kind of translucent blue material that pulsed with gentle light. "Captain, I'm getting better readings now," Lisa said, her voice filled with wonder. "The station is massive, at least 20 kilometers across. The technology is incredibly advanced, but there's something strange about it. All the energy signatures are clean. No radiation, no harmful emissions. It's like they've mastered clean energy in ways we can only dream about." Alex suddenly straightened in his chair, his headphones crackling with new sounds. "Captain, the transmissions just changed. They're directed at us now. I think they know we're here." Before Jake could respond, the main screen flickered and cleared. A face appeared unlike anything any human had ever seen. The being had pale blue skin that seemed to shimmer like water, large eyes that held intelligence and curiosity, and features that were both alien and somehow gentle. When it spoke, Alex's translation software kicked in, turning the musical sounds into words they could understand. "Greetings, travelers from the distant stars," the alien said, its voice carrying a melody that was pleasant to human ears. "I am Counselor Vashitar of the Zilani people. We have watched your approach with great interest and joy. It has been so long since we have encountered others who travel between the stars." Jake stepped forward, his heart pounding with the magnitude of the moment. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the Terran exploration vessel Horizon. We come in peace, seeking knowledge and friendship among the stars." Vashtar's expression seemed to brighten, though it was hard to tell with such alien features. "Peace is the greatest gift one can offer, Captain Morrison. Would you and your crew honor us with your presence aboard our station? We have much to share and much to learn from each other." Ryan placed a hand on Jake's shoulder, his voice low and concerned. "Captain, we should consider the risks. We know nothing about their intentions or capabilities." But Jake felt something in Vashitar's manner that spoke of genuine welcome. The alien's eyes held a warmth that seemed impossible to fake, and the station itself radiated a peaceful energy that calmed his nerves. "We would be honored to visit your station, Counselor Vashitar." "Excellent," Vashitar replied. "We will prepare a docking bay suitable for your vessel. Please, bring any of your crew who wish to experience this historic meeting." As the transmission ended, Jake turned to his crew. Lisa was practically bouncing with excitement, already pulling up cultural exchange protocols on her tablet. Alex was fine-tuning his translation systems, wanting to ensure perfect communication. Ryan still looked worried, but even he seemed caught up in the historic nature of the moment. "This is it, people," Jake said, looking around at his crew. "First contact with an alien civilization. Everything we do from this moment forward will be remembered forever. Let's make humanity proud." The horizon approached the docking bay that had opened in the side of the crystalline station. As they drew closer, they could see Zilani moving about inside the station through the transparent walls. The aliens moved with a fluid grace that reminded the humans of swimmers, their forms flowing from place to place with natural ease. The docking procedure was surprisingly smooth. The Zilani technology interfaced perfectly with their systems, as if it had been designed with universal compatibility in mind. As the airlock sealed and the atmosphere equalized, Jake felt the weight of history on his shoulders. Lisa checked her tablet one more time. Atmospheric readings are perfect for humans. Temperature is comfortable. No dangerous bacteria or toxins detected. It's like they prepared the environment specifically for us. Alex nodded toward the airlock. The counselor is waiting just outside with what looks like a welcome party. Jake straightened his uniform and took a deep breath. "Then let's go make history." As the airlock opened, they stepped into a world more beautiful than any of them had imagined. The first contact between humans and aliens had begun, and it felt like the start of something wonderful. 3 weeks had passed since the historic first meeting between humans and the Zilani, and the TSS Horizon had become a second home orbiting the crystalline station. Captain Jake Morrison walked through the corridors of the alien structure, amazed at how comfortable he had become in this strange new environment. The walls pulsed with gentle blue light that seemed to respond to his presence, growing brighter as he approached and dimming softly behind him. Alex Chen had achieved something remarkable during their stay. His translation matrix had evolved far beyond simple word conversion into something that could handle complex ideas and emotions between the two species. The breakthrough had come when he realized the Zilani language contained musical elements that carried meaning beyond words. Now humans and Zilani could discuss philosophy, art, and even jokes with perfect understanding. The key was recognizing that they don't just speak with words, Alex explained to Jake as they made their way to the central meeting chamber. Their language includes emotional harmonics. When Vashitar says something is beautiful, the tone actually contains the feeling of beauty itself. It's like they never learned to lie because their language makes deception almost impossible. In the research laboratories that the Zilani had graciously provided, Dr. Lisa Parker worked alongside Zilani scientists on projects that seemed like magic to human eyes. The aliens had shown her organisms that could heal wounds by simply touching damaged tissue. They had energy systems that drew power directly from their star without any harmful byproducts. Most amazing of all, they had achieved perfect balance between technology and nature. "Look at this, Captain," Lisa said, holding up a small creature that glowed with soft green light. "This little being can repair damaged DNA at the cellular level. The Zilani have been using them for medical treatment for thousands of years. They don't just cure diseases. They actually improve the body's natural healing abilities." The Zilani scientist working with her, a gentle being named Kethran, added with musical tones that Alex's system translated perfectly. "We learned long ago that fighting against nature brings only suffering. When we work with the living systems around us, we find solutions that heal rather than harm." Captain Morrison nodded with growing respect for these remarkable aliens. Every day brought new wonders and new reasons to admire the Zilani civilization. They had solved problems that humans still struggled with, and they had done it without the violence and conflict that marked so much of human history. Commander Ryan Blake had initially approached the Zilani with military suspicion, but even his cautious nature had softened over the weeks. The aliens showed genuine curiosity about human culture, without any sign of hostile intent. They asked questions about Earth's music, art, and literature with the enthusiasm of children discovering new toys. "I have to admit, Captain," Ryan said during one of their evening briefings, "these beings seem incapable of aggressive behavior. Yesterday, Vashitar asked me to explain human military strategy, and when I described basic defensive tactics, he looked physically ill. The concept of organized violence seems to genuinely disturb them." The Zilani Council of Harmony had officially extended an invitation for humanity to establish a permanent embassy on their world. The offer included shared technology, cultural exchange programs, and access to the Zilani trade networks that spanned several nearby star systems. It was everything the exploration fleet had hoped to find and more. Counselor Vashitar had become particularly close to the human crew, spending hours each day in conversation with Jake about the differences between their civilizations. The alien leader seemed fascinated by human determination and creativity, while also being puzzled by humanity's history of conflict. "Your species has achieved so much in such a short time," Vashitar said during one of their talks in his private chambers, which overlooked the beautiful planet below. "Yet your history contains so much struggle and war. How do you balance creation with destruction so effectively?" Jake found these conversations both enlightening and sometimes uncomfortable. The Zilani had evolved beyond warfare over 800 years ago, abandoning military technology entirely in favor of purely defensive systems. They found human military capabilities both impressive and deeply troubling. "We have learned that peace is not simply the absence of conflict," Vashtar continued, his voice carrying harmonics of ancient wisdom. "True peace comes from understanding that all life is connected. When we harm others, we harm ourselves. When we help others, we strengthen our own spirits." The cultural exchanges had become daily events. Human crew members taught the Zilani about Earth music, and the aliens responded with harmony sessions that seemed to touch the soul directly. Lisa shared human scientific methods while learning Zilani approaches that were more intuitive, but somehow more effective. Alex worked with Zilani communication specialists to create better translation systems for future contact between the species. However, subtle signs of concern had begun to appear among the Zilani. When Jake mentioned humanity's plans for expanding into nearby star systems, Vashitar and other council members exchanged glances that suggested worry. They seemed uncomfortable when humans discussed defensive strategies or military preparedness. During a formal dinner in the Great Hall of the station, Vashitar made a request that surprised the human crew. "Captain Morrison, we hope you will not think us rude, but the Council of Harmony wishes to ask something of future human visitors. Would it be possible for your people to come to us without weapons of war? The presence of military technology creates unease among our population." Ryan stiffened at the request, his military instincts raising immediate concerns. "Counselor, while we respect your peaceful nature, traveling unarmed through unknown space carries significant risks." Vashitar's expression showed understanding but also firm resolve. "We appreciate your concerns, Commander Blake, but our people have lived in peace for centuries. The sight of weapons, even defensive ones, brings back memories of darker times in our history." Jake found himself caught between respecting Zilani wishes and maintaining reasonable security for human vessels. The request seemed innocent enough, but it represented a fundamental difference in how the two species viewed safety and preparedness. That evening, Jake sent his regular report back to Earth, recommending full diplomatic relations with the Zilani. He described their advanced technology, peaceful nature, and genuine desire for friendship. The report painted a picture of an ideal first contact scenario, though he mentioned the Zilani preference for unarmed visitors. As he finished the transmission, Jake looked out at the beautiful alien world below and felt profound hope for the future. The partnership between humans and Zilani could transform both civilizations for the better. What could possibly go wrong with such a perfect situation? The formal treaty signing was scheduled for the next morning when everything changed. Captain Jake Morrison was reviewing the final diplomatic documents with Counselor Vashitar in the main conference chamber when alarms began sounding throughout the Zilani station. The musical tones that usually filled the air turned sharp and urgent, causing the crystalline walls to pulse with rapid red light. "What is happening?" Jake asked, rising from his chair as Zilani crew members moved with sudden purpose through the transparent corridors. Vashitar's face had changed completely. The warm, welcoming expression that Jake had grown accustomed to was replaced by something he had never seen in a Zilani before. Fear. Raw, unmistakable fear that made the alien's blue skin turn almost white. "A large vessel approaches our system," Vashitar said, his voice losing its musical quality and becoming flat with worry. "The energy signature is unlike your exploration ship. This vessel carries the unmistakable signs of weapons designed for war." On the TSS horizon, Alex Chen was already at his station trying to identify the incoming ship when Commander Ryan Blake burst onto the bridge. Captain, we're getting massive energy readings from something dropping out of FTL drive. Whatever it is, it's big and it's heading straight for us. Dr. Lisa Parker looked up from her research tablet, confusion clear on her face. But we're not expecting any other human ships for months. The next supply mission isn't scheduled until next year. The answer came when the new vessel finally appeared on their sensors. The UTS Vengeance materialized from faster-than-light travel with a display of power that made the peaceful exploration ship look like a child's toy. The massive battle cruiser stretched nearly 2 kilometers from bow to stern, its hull bristling with weapon arrays, missile pods, and defensive shields that could withstand direct hits from planetary bombardment systems. "Vengeance to Horizon," came a crisp voice over the communication channel. "This is Admiral Kate Sullivan. Prepare for immediate boarding and briefing. We have urgent intelligence regarding your current situation." Jake felt his stomach drop as he realized what this meant. The peaceful first contact mission was about to become something entirely different. "Admiral Sullivan, this is Captain Morrison. We're currently engaged in diplomatic negotiations with the alien species. Your arrival may complicate the situation." "Captain, the situation is already complicated," Admiral Sullivan replied, her voice carrying the authority of someone accustomed to being obeyed without question. "We have intelligence that suggests these aliens may not be as peaceful as they appear. I'm coming aboard your ship immediately." Within minutes, a military shuttle had departed the Vengeance and docked with the Horizon. Admiral Sullivan stepped aboard with an escort of heavily armed Marines, their presence a stark contrast to the peaceful atmosphere that had prevailed for weeks. She was a woman in her 50s with gray hair and sharp eyes that seemed to take in every detail of her surroundings. "Captain Morrison, we need to talk privately," she said, motioning toward his ready room. "What I'm about to tell you is classified and could change everything about this first contact scenario." In the privacy of his quarters, Admiral Sullivan spread holographic displays across Jake's desk. The images showed star charts, energy readings, and reconnaissance data that made his blood run cold. "Our deep space monitoring stations have detected Zilani probe ships conducting surveillance missions near 3 of our outer colonies," Admiral Sullivan explained, pointing to the data. "These weren't random exploration missions. They were systematic reconnaissance operations using stealth technology, far more advanced than anything they've shown you." Jake stared at the evidence, feeling his carefully built trust beginning to crack. "But that doesn't necessarily mean hostile intent. Maybe they were just being cautious about making contact." "Maybe," Admiral Sullivan agreed. "But there's more. The probe ships were specifically scanning our defensive capabilities, military installations, and population centers. That's not the behavior of a peaceful species interested in cultural exchange." Meanwhile, aboard the Zilani station, panic was spreading through the crystalline corridors. Vashitar had called an emergency session of the Council of Harmony, and the usually calm aliens were moving with urgent purpose. The arrival of the human warship had triggered responses that the peaceful exploration crew had never seen. The weapons on that vessel could destroy our entire station with a single attack. One council member said, his musical voice trembling with fear, "Perhaps we were wrong to trust these humans. Perhaps they are like the others who came from the darkness of space." Vashitar tried to maintain calm, but Jake could see through the transparent walls that even the alien leader was struggling with the situation. "We must not panic. Captain Morrison and his crew have shown us only friendship and respect. This warship may not represent their true intentions." But other council members were less optimistic. "The humans have been studying our defenses for weeks while pretending friendship. They have learned our weaknesses while we shared our knowledge freely. We may have made a terrible mistake." Back on the Horizon, Admiral Sullivan continued her briefing. "The Zilani technology is far more advanced than they've admitted. Our intelligence suggests they have capabilities that could pose a significant threat to human space. If they chose to use them aggressively." Jake felt torn between his positive experiences with the Zilani and the disturbing evidence Admiral Sullivan presented. "Admiral, I've spent weeks with these beings. They seem genuinely peaceful and incapable of deception." "Captain, I respect your observations, but intelligence doesn't lie," Admiral Sullivan replied firmly. "The probe ships were real. The stealth technology is real. We need to approach this situation with appropriate caution." The tension was growing by the hour. Zilani communications with the human ships had become formal and distant. Gone were the warm conversations and cultural exchanges. Instead, official diplomatic protocols had replaced the friendly interactions that had characterized the previous weeks. Commander Blake approached Jake with additional concerns. Captain, I've been monitoring Zilani communications since the Vengeance arrived. There's been a significant increase in encrypted transmissions between their station and the planet below. They're coordinating something. Dr. Parker looked devastated by the turn of events. Jake, these beings have been nothing but kind to us. There has to be an explanation for the probe ships that doesn't involve hostile intent. But Alex Chen had discovered something else troubling. Captain, I've been analyzing the changes in Zilani communication patterns. They're using language protocols that my translation system can't decode. They've switched to some kind of secure communication method that keeps us from understanding what they're saying. As Jake looked out at the beautiful Zilani station that had seemed so welcoming just hours before, he realized that everything had changed. The arrival of the Vengeance had transformed a peaceful first contact into a potential confrontation between two species who no longer trusted each, though the question now was whether they could find a way back to the peace they had briefly shared, or if this first contact would end in the kind of tragedy that both species had hoped to avoid. Admiral Kate Sullivan wasted no time in beginning her investigation of the Zilani station. She brought with her Lieutenant Dan Foster, an intelligence officer whose job was finding secrets that others wanted to keep hidden. Within hours of arriving, Foster had deployed scanning equipment that could penetrate much deeper into the alien structure than the peaceful exploration tools the Horizon had been using. Admiral, you need to see this, Foster said, his voice tight with concern as he reviewed the deep scan results. The Zilani station isn't just a peaceful research facility. There are massive sections hidden beneath the main structure that our previous scans couldn't detect. Captain Jake Morrison felt his heart sink as he looked at the new data. The beautiful crystalline towers that had seemed so welcoming were apparently just the visible portion of something much larger and more complex. Below the surface, the scans revealed corridors, chambers, and equipment that had been completely concealed from human detection. What kind of equipment are we talking about? Admiral Sullivan asked, her military experience making her focus on potential threats. Foster highlighted sections of the scan results with growing alarm. Energy conduits capable of channeling massive power loads, structures that match the design signatures of defensive systems. And there's something else. The power core for this station is at least 10 times larger than necessary for the activities we've observed. They're drawing and storing enormous amounts of energy for purposes we can't identify. Dr. Lisa Parker stared at the scans with disbelief. But why would they hide this from us? We've been sharing our technology freely. They had no reason to conceal defensive systems unless they planned to use them against us. The situation became even more troubling when Foster's deep planetary scans revealed similar hidden complexes on the Zilani homeworld below. Entire underground cities existed beneath the peaceful surface communities, connected by transport systems that could move large numbers of beings quickly across vast distances. This isn't just a few hidden rooms, Foster reported grimly. This is an entire shadow civilization built for purposes they haven't told us about. The underground facilities could house millions of Zilani, and the power systems could support technology far beyond anything they've demonstrated. Admiral Sullivan made the difficult decision to confront Counselor Vashitar directly. The meeting took place in the main conference chamber where just days before, humans and Zilani had been planning peaceful cooperation. Now the atmosphere was tense with suspicion and barely contained accusations. Counselor Vashitar, our scans have revealed extensive hidden facilities both on this station and on your planet. Admiral Sullivan began, her voice carrying military authority. We need an explanation for why these installations were concealed from us. Vashitar's blue skin seemed to pale even further, and for the first time since their arrival, the alien leader's musical voice carried notes of pain and regret. Admiral Sullivan, Captain Morrison, we did not intend deception in the way you understand it. But yes, there are aspects of our civilization that we chose not to reveal immediately. Commander Ryan Blake stepped forward, his security instincts fully activated. What kind of aspects, Counselor? We've shared our defensive capabilities and military technology with you. Why couldn't you do the same? The alien leader was quiet for a long moment, his large eyes reflecting emotions that the humans struggled to interpret. When he finally spoke, his words carried the weight of painful memories. 800 years ago, our people abandoned active warfare after encountering a species called the Krethvar. These beings brought destruction to everything they touched. conquering and enslaving entire civilizations for purposes we never understood. Jake felt a chill as Vashatar continued his explanation. The Krethvar taught us that peaceful intentions are not enough to guarantee survival. Though we abandoned aggressive warfare, we maintained defensive capabilities that could protect our people if such threats ever returned. The underground facilities you discovered are those defenses. Admiral Sullivan leaned forward intently. And the probe ships that were scanning our colonies. How do those fit into your defensive strategy? Vashatar's expression became even more troubled. When we detected your approach to our system, we needed to understand what kind of beings you were. The Krethvar also approached with apparent peaceful intentions before revealing their true nature. Our reconnaissance missions were attempts to determine whether humanity represented a new threat or potential allies. Dr. Parker felt betrayed by the revelation, her scientific trust shattered by what felt like deliberate deception. But you could have simply asked us about our defensive capabilities. We would have answered honestly. Instead, you chose to spy on us while pretending friendship. The Zilani counselor's musical voice carried harmonics of deep sadness. Dr. Parker, your species has a history of warfare that spans your entire civilization. Even now, you carry weapons designed to destroy life. How could we know whether your peaceful words matched your true intentions? Commander Blake's military training made him focus on the strategic implications. What exactly are these defensive capabilities you've hidden from us? If we're going to have any kind of relationship, we need complete honesty about what we're dealing with. Vashtar exchanged glances with other Zilani council members who had gathered during the confrontation. After a moment of silent communication, he turned back to the humans with resignation. Our defensive systems include weapons that can disable spacecraft without destroying them, planetary shields that can repel orbital bombardment, and technology that can hide our worlds from detection. We also have the ability to evacuate our entire population to protected locations within hours if necessary. The revelation sent shockwaves through the human crew. Admiral Sullivan realized that the Zilani possessed defensive technology that could neutralize human military advantages while protecting their own people from retaliation. And you were prepared to use these systems against us if you determined we were hostile. The decision was being debated by our Council of Harmony when your warship arrived, Vashatar admitted. The appearance of such obvious military power convinced many of our leaders that humans intended conquest rather than cooperation. Alex Chen, who had been quietly monitoring Zilani communications, suddenly looked up with alarm. Captain, I'm detecting massive energy buildups in the underground facilities. They're activating something big down there. The trust that had taken weeks to build between the two species had crumbled in hours. Both sides now saw potential enemies where they had once seen friends. The peaceful first contact that had promised so much for both civilizations was teetering, on the edge of becoming humanity's first interstellar war. Jake looked around the conference chamber at faces filled with suspicion, fear, and disappointment. The beautiful station that had once seemed like a gateway to a brighter future now felt like a trap that could close around them at any moment. The situation was spiraling toward disaster when Captain Jake Morrison made a desperate decision. He stepped between Admiral Sullivan and Counselor Vashatar, holding up his hands to both sides. Stop, everyone just stop for a moment. We're about to destroy something beautiful because we're all afraid of ghosts from the past. Admiral Sullivan's military instincts made her want to prepare for battle, but something in Jake's voice made her pause. Captain, the Zilani are powering up weapon systems that could destroy both our ships. This isn't the time for speeches. Admiral, with respect, this is exactly the time for speeches, Jake replied firmly. Dr. Parker, tell them what you discovered about Zilani biology 3 weeks ago. The thing about their emotional connection to their language. Lisa looked confused but answered anyway. Their communication system makes deception almost impossible. When they speak, their emotions are transmitted along with their words. They literally cannot lie effectively because their feelings contradict their false statements. Jake turned to Counselor Vashatar with sudden understanding. That's why you were so uncomfortable when we talked about human military history. It wasn't just philosophical disagreement. You were actually feeling our pain and violence through the translation system Alex created. Alex Chen suddenly straightened as he realized what Jake was suggesting. Captain, you're right. The musical harmonics in their language don't just carry meaning. They carry actual emotional content. When we described battles and warfare, they were experiencing the trauma directly. Vashatar's blue skin began to show signs of hope mixed with lingering fear. Captain Morrison understands correctly. When your people spoke of violence and conquest, we felt the suffering as if it were our own. The emotional weight of your history was overwhelming to experience. Admiral Sullivan was still focused on the immediate threat. That may explain their reactions, but it doesn't change the fact that they have hidden weapons capable of destroying us. We need to address the security situation. Commander Ryan Blake had been monitoring the energy readings from the planet below, and suddenly his expression changed from suspicion to alarm. Admiral Captain, you need to see these sensor readings. The power buildups aren't just defensive weapons. I'm detecting massive energy signatures moving toward this system from deep space. Lieutenant Dan Foster confirmed Blake's readings with growing urgency. Multiple contacts approaching at high speed. The energy signatures don't match human or Zilani technology. These are ships and they're big. Vashatar's face went completely white as he processed the sensor data. No, it cannot be. The Krethvar have not been seen in this region for over 2 centuries. Dr. Parker quickly analyzed the incoming sensor data and felt her blood run cold. These ships are massive. Each one is larger than our battlecruiser, and there are at least 12 of them heading directly toward us. The revelation changed everything in an instant. The hidden Zilani defensive systems weren't preparation for attacking humans. They were early warning systems designed to detect the return of their ancient enemy. The reconnaissance missions to human space weren't surveillance for conquest. They were desperate attempts to find potential allies against a threat that had haunted Zilani nightmares for generations. Admiral Sullivan, Vashatar said urgently, the Krethvar are beings of pure aggression. They destroy civilizations not for resources or territory, but simply because destruction brings them pleasure. If they have found this system, both our species are in mortal danger. Admiral Sullivan's military mind immediately shifted from suspicion of the Zilani to assessment of this new threat. What are their capabilities? How do we fight them? Individual Krethvar ships are heavily armed and shielded, Vashtar explained rapidly, but their greatest weapon is their complete lack of mercy or restraint. They will not negotiate, they will not retreat, and they will not stop until everything living in this system is dead. Jake realized that the peaceful first contact had suddenly become a trial by fire that would determine whether humans and Zilani could become true allies. Counselor, your defensive systems that you've been hiding, can they protect us from the Krethvar? Alone, no, Vashatar admitted. Our shields can protect the planet temporarily, but we lack the offensive capability to drive them away. The Krethvar learned from our previous encounters and adapted their technology to counter our defenses. Admiral Sullivan made a command decision that would echo through history. Then we combine our strengths, your defensive technology with our offensive capabilities. Captain Morrison, prepare to share all our military data with the Zilani. If we're going to survive this, we need complete cooperation. Dr. Parker and the Zilani scientists worked frantically to integrate human and alien defensive systems. The crystalline station's shields were modified to protect both human ships, while Admiral Sullivan coordinated with Vashatar to position their weapons for maximum effectiveness against the approaching threat. Alex. Chen established perfect communication links between all ships and stations, ensuring that humans and Zilani could coordinate their actions seamlessly. The translation barriers that had once seemed so important were forgotten in the face of mutual survival. When the Krethvar fleet finally arrived, they found something they had never encountered before. Humans and Zilani fighting side by side, combining compassionate wisdom with determined courage. The battle was fierce and costly, but the alliance held firm. Admiral Sullivan's tactical experience proved crucial in coordinating attacks that broke through Krethvar defenses, while Zilani shield technology protected both species from devastating counterattacks. Captain Morrison found himself commanding a mixed human-Zilani crew aboard the station, directing defensive fire with the precision of a seasoned warrior. Hours later, when the last Krethvar ship retreated into deep space, the exhausted allies looked at each other with new understanding. The peaceful first contact hadn't been ruined by the arrival of the warship. It had been completed by it. Admiral Sullivan, Vashatar said as they surveyed the damage to both fleets, your arrival was not a threat to our peace. It was the answer to our prayers for protection. Admiral Sullivan nodded with respect for the alien leader. And your hidden defenses weren't deception, Counselor. They were the missing piece we needed to survive. Jake looked out at the human and Zilani ships patrolling together, and realized that first contact had succeeded beyond anyone's wildest dreams. Two very different species had learned that true peace wasn't the absence of strength, but the wisdom to use that strength to protect those who couldn't protect themselves. The galaxy was dangerous, but humans and Zelani would face those dangers together, combining the best of both civilizations to build something stronger than either could achieve alone.